Let's welcome Stephen Bryden. He is our Division D Director this year. He's had lots of experience with open houses and had quite a bit of success. Licensed to speak, certainly. He's had some at one of his clubs, and they have turned the corner where they are doing well as a club with respect to members. So adding membership to your club is very important to keep it viable because of the natural turnover of about 30%, Toastmasters International tells us happens. So Stephen is here today to speak about turbocharging your open house. Please help me welcome Stephen Bryden.
All right. Thank you very much there, David and Sandra. Here, I'm just going to see if I can present my slide deck here. And just let me know, can everyone see that? Mm-hmm. All right, so as was mentioned before, so I'm going to be presenting, this workshop is based on open houses, and that's the primary focus of this presentation. There are some handouts, but they're not required to follow along like during this workshop. I think Sandra is going to try getting them up in the chat. If not, you can always send us an email and we can send you any of the handouts post this workshop. So that way, you know, you don't miss anything or any of the materials. My hopes is to communicate a bit of a method and a way of thinking about open houses to improve the quality. And through improving the quality of your open house, you're going to improve the chances of the guests who do arrive at your open house to say yes. Because ultimately that's what an open house is for, is to help you build membership. So, you know, I'm going to be going over some high-level things. I'm going to be talking a little bit about the difference between marketing and sales. I want to talk about customer focus. There's a bit of a really simple 6-point sales process to kind of think about conceptually. And then I'm going to use an example to apply those ideas and show kind of where those different parts of that sales process fits within the context of running your open house. And at the end, you know, I'm hoping to have a bit of a question and answer period so we can discuss on how these ideas may apply to your open house to help you increase your success in getting your potential guests to say yes. So to start off, you know, I've already been introduced. My name's Stephen Bryden. I've been a Toastmaster for about 10 years. I've been in a bunch of different leadership roles in that 10-year time. I've been a club president a number of times. You know, I've been area director. I'm a division director this year. I'm going to be I'm nominated to be a division director next year as well, because I really find that I enjoy giving back to the organization. I continue to try to gain educational achievements. Right now, I'm really focusing on the legacy system because I want to try to close out and get my DTM. But right now I'm holding my ALB, my ACS, and last year I felt honored to be awarded the Jack Gillespie's Builders Award for building up a club, and that's specifically related to License to Speak from closing to 20 members strong in about a 4-month period. And I also gained the Urban Area Director Year of Award. So yeah, so I hope to share some ideas with you. So today's objectives, I would like you guys to try to set the stage that we become doctors. And this is kind of a good timing in terms of COVID, you know. If you're having challenges and you're running open houses, and you're finding that just people aren't saying yes, they're coming and then they're just leaving, and you know, you're not able to move the mark in gaining new members, it's important to kind of take that focus of a troubleshooting role and kind of look at and analyze, okay, well, what are you doing for running your open house? Maybe there's places where you can think about improving. So to lead you through this workshop, I'm hoping to help focus the difference a little bit between marketing and sales. And marketing is about awareness. Sales is about the quality of your open house. So I want to talk a little bit about that. I want to talk again a little bit about customer focus, because it's really important to think from the perspective of the customer. What is their experience and what's going through their mind? And once you start to kind of put yourself in their spot, again, it helps make things a little bit more clear on where you can improve things for your open house. Simple sales model. So sometimes when you're thinking about all the different aspects that go into an open house, planning, marketing. You know, it's really easy to get everything confused. So sometimes when you can break it down to 6 distinct areas, then you can reflect on, okay, are we strong in area 1, or maybe we're strong in area 5 or 4, and then that might enable you to say, okay, well, I'm not going to focus on that for improving. I'm going to focus on the places that need work. So this is giving you tools to conceptualize on how you plan your open house. Then a case study. It really helps to describe things with a tangible example to say, okay, well, here's the conceptual, here's the 6 points. Okay, well, how does this really apply when the rubber hits the road? So I want to talk about my experience with License to Speak, and more recently using the same model with the Forks Toastmasters and gaining same results. So, you know, it's showing that this is kind of a proven methodology. Turbocharging your open house. So that just leads into, okay, well, now you have some conceptual ideas. You have a case study. Okay, now let's try to apply this to, you know, any open house or the open houses that you're trying to run. And then that leads into, you know, kind of the back and forth that we're going to have. We'll try to have a bit of a discussion at the end. So to start off, I'd like everyone to just take a minute, and this isn't, if we were in the district meeting room and in person, this might have been a group session, but this, I'm just going to ask you guys to think individually, because it's really important to start off and just reflect, what are you doing today? And, you know, here's 5 questions, if you can see them on the screen there. There's, you know, who is your perfect customer? What problem does your club solve for them? Like, do you know that? Or have you thought about that? What roles are involved in your open house? Maybe just take a minute, and I'll just pause for a minute and try to think of those questions and just reflect on what you're doing today. All right, so I think about a minute's up, so hopefully that's enough time. The important piece is just for you to take that minute and just think about, okay, well, how are you doing your open house? Because it's important to reflect on that. Then we're going to go through this material, and then we're going to try to, you know, get the creative juices going and say, okay, well, how does this apply, you know, when thinking about this working example and thinking about the different roles, maybe in a slightly different way. So to start off, I think it's really important to try to bring clarity, to focus on where do you want to improve. And one common place that I find that's easy to kind of get conflated, or you know, they're usually combined as a single subject, is the difference between marketing and selling, or a sales process. So in marketing, I mean, we all know about marketing, right? It's about building awareness, building brand exposure. Oftentimes you're targeting a specific audience to try to build their awareness and attract them to come to your open house. But really, marketing is about all those different materials, posters, social media, word of mouth, networking, saying, hey, come on out and check out this event. You know, it's about targeting correct audiences, and it's about building quantity, right? You're trying to get your word out to as many people as possible to try to attract those people to come to your open house. So marketing is all of those activities. But marketing is kind of the input, or you're creating the inputs into your sales funnel or into the sales process. And sales, actually, you know, sometimes people think of sales as a dirty word. It's like, oh, I hate sales. But really, sales is about influence, and your open house is about influencing those guests who come to want to join. Or more appropriately, is if they're qualified and they have a problem or a challenge that they need to solve. And Toastmasters has a whole bunch of solutions that you can align to say, hey, we can help solve your problems. Why don't you join us? And it's about that, building that relationship, building trust within that guest, and showing credibility, so that they say, oh, okay, you're espousing about speaking, you're espousing about leadership, and oh my gosh, this open house here's some good speakers, and it's really well run. Oh, okay, this really is about good, you know, speaking and leadership development. You're also building understanding, because a lot of people don't know much about Toastmasters. So, you know, you have, and they don't know what they have to offer, what we have to offer. So it's important to make sure that you create that connection from, well, here's some challenges that we know customers are coming in with, or potential members are coming in with. And here's some solutions that we can apply that would be of great benefit to those potential guests. So really, it's about customer relationship and the quality of that open house. And that's where you're going to increase the chances of yes. So marketing, you might bring in 10 people. The quality says, well, are you going to snag one person or are you going to snag 8 out of 10 people, right? So this workshop is focusing primarily on this open house process. Although in some of the materials that I have in this workshop, there's some great materials out there. Lloyd Williams on justholler.com. There's a great member building and a marketing PDF that has like 100 ideas on there. So if you're not sure what you can do over and above posters, there's like another 100 ideas that you could potentially pursue to build up on bringing in the numbers. But today I'm going to be focusing mostly on the sales process or the open house itself. And there's the handshake. We want to create that. We want to create that relationship. So if you know that you're building a relationship with people and you're building a relationship with a guest, a potential guest, and that's who your customer is. And the funny thing about Toastmasters is we are all actually customers of Toastmasters International, because Toastmasters International, as we know, leadership and everyone at the top is all working towards the benefit of the member and improving the membership experience, because the end member is the customer. That's us. So that kind of puts us in an interesting position. We already kind of have a sense on who our perfect customer might be, because we are all customers and we all came for certain, because we had certain challenges and needs. And Toastmasters, of course, is giving us some solutions to those needs. So some of those desires might be, well, we want to participate in community, or maybe we want to practice for other events outside of Toastmasters. So I want to become an MC for my sister's wedding. Or maybe it's someone in corporate. They want to become a better leader and a better communicator. They want to improve their skills. They want to be accepted. They want to practice in a safe space. Sometimes in the corporate world, or when you have to put your skills on the line, you open yourself up to maybe not safe criticism, right? But in Toastmasters, of course, everything's safe. You're in a safe environment. You're accepted no matter what your skill level is. And that's a very powerful motivator to join. And, oftentimes you just want to find a mentor and learn from others. Well, we know this. We know all this stuff about Toastmasters, that we offer hands-on learning. We allow for practice of prepared impromptu speaking. There's opportunities to lead every meeting, from Toastmaster to being timer to leading the evaluation session or planning events. You receive continual feedback, supportive environment, access to members. So when you run an open house, you have to be really aware of what desires that guest might be coming in with. And then you have to build your open house to make sure that you create and demonstrate. So you're communicating it, but you're also demonstrating it through practice, through the execution of that event, that you really do offer hands-on learning. You offer practice and prepared speeches. There's opportunities to lead, or you can demonstrate leadership through an effectively run event. So you have to create that connection, right? Because that's the needs to the solution connection. And of course, I always like to talk about the club mission, right? We provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. So everything ties into that. All our features and benefits tie into that mission statement. So a simple sales process. This is a 6-point process, and it's really quite simple. And there's some core questions that you want to ask yourself. How are you building rapport? So what is rapport? Rapport is the start of building a relationship with that potential guest. So when you have your open house, are you taking the time to build that social connection with that person coming in? Was there a warm email that went out to invite them, or maybe to remind them to come to that event the next day or the following week? Is there people greeting that person coming in to say, hey, thank you for coming. Our meeting room is just down the hall. You just take the first left, and someone will receive you there. Maybe you have a second greeter even in the room who's receiving that person coming in and saying, hey, thank you for coming. Did you want to sign our guest book? Hey, here's a guest package that you might want to look through. If you have any questions, talk to our VP of membership. So All those points are about building that social connection. You know, and that's really important, right? Because people want to feel accepted. They want to have that one-on-one, and that's important. Like think about any company that you've gone to, you know, store, you know, where you're buying a product. Invariably in retail, someone's going to come up and try to build a social connection with you. They're going to say, "Hey, do you need help with anything? You know, what are you looking for? You know, are you looking for new shoes, or are you looking for a certain type of you know, clothes to wear?" But invariably, you're going to get approached by someone, and that's about building rapport with the customer. Credibility. So you really have to think hard when you're running your open house. How are you building credibility? And what is credibility? Well, credibility is doing what you say you're going to do. In part, in a heavy part, it's doing what you say you're going to do. So Toastmasters espouses, you know, we're going to improve your communication skills. We're going to improve your leadership skills. You're going to develop as a person. You're going to improve. It's a safe environment. You're going to have fun along the way. There's great learning opportunities. So if your open house, in the act of running that open house, doesn't demonstrate that, you know, that's going to be a huge marker against getting that person to say yes. So if you're saying, "Hey, you know, we love leadership, and you know, we're going to make you a great leader," but your event doesn't have any handouts, no one knows what the roles are, no one knows who's speaking next, you know, maybe the person at the front of the room is not as strong, and that's nothing against that individual. It's more the projection on you know, what you're offering to that potential customer, right? If there's any sort of a challenge in that, you're going to have a problem with showing credibility with that person, and that leads into trust. So the person is going to say, "Well, wait a second, this is what they're telling me this is about, but I'm not really seeing it. Can I really trust them that they're really going to deliver for me if I join?" Right? Because you know, are you practicing what you're preaching, right? So you have to build that relationship. You have to demonstrate a quality meeting, which really builds credibility. And are you practicing what you're preaching? Are you really doing it? And then the customer is saying, "Oh, okay, well, maybe I can start to trust." If you're hitting on those, the customer is going to start saying, or the potential guest is going to say, "Oh, okay, you know, I think there's something to this. You know, there's a lot more than what I realized." And if throughout that meeting, you're demonstrating different levels of speakers. You have strong speakers, you know, maybe just beginner speakers who are just building confidence. You're showing that there's an evaluator in the room. Maybe the evaluator is not actually going to do an evaluation, but hey, yes, there's someone evaluating, and people are continually being evaluated, and they're going to get valuable feedback. Oh, wait a second, there's a timer, and we're keeping this thing like clockwork. Toastmaster knows what's going on. They're effectively transitioning through. So all those different points are demonstrating leadership, demonstrating speaking competencies, you know, all the benefits that Toastmasters has to offer because you're demonstrating it. So through demonstrating it well in a quality meeting, you're actually simultaneously matching the customer needs to potential solutions that will solve those needs. So is that clearly being demonstrated and enacted all the way through that meeting, through the, you know, the quality execution of all the different roles of all the people involved? Reducing objections. So this is an interesting one. So objections are a common sales thing where, you know, people always have resistance to buying. It could, in Toastmasters case, I've seen in both ends. I'm just going to use these two examples, but there's many. One is, "Oh, you know what? This event is so well run. You know, I don't think I'm good enough. I don't have the confidence. I'm feeling very shaky just speaking in front of to anyone." But if you show a diversity of speakers in that room, so there's a strong Toastmaster, but then maybe you have some people who don't have as much confidence, but they're actually breaking barriers like right before their eyes, and they're getting up there and they're showing courage because they're just beginning members. That person who has that objection in their mind saying, "Oh, I'm not good enough," they'll see that person and go, "Oh, that's me. Oh, maybe this is me too." Conversely, the same goes for a really well-spoken individual. So I've also seen this in the corporate world. It's like, "Oh, I already know how to speak. I can run a meeting. I'm great." But if they come to a meeting and they see that, wow, that Toastmaster, you know, who's leading this event is really on point, and this meeting is flowing like butter, And oh my gosh, maybe you've brought in a guest speaker who has a highly polished, speech, like a division contest speech, or a keynote, a mini keynote, and it's on point, no ums and ahs, kept to the time, delivers a motivational, inspirational idea or humor. That person who says, oh, I'm already kind of good enough, will go, whoa, there's growth opportunity here, because they're going to see it. If in the open house as well, at the beginning, I'll get into this a little bit. If you demonstrate that Toastmasters is not just at the club, of course, that's where most of the magic happens, but it's international. There's all levels of growth, from you can just keep it at the club level, or you become executive, area director, division director, regional, right up to international president. Really the growth opportunities are limitless. So when you think of leadership, so the person who's kind of intermediate will go, whoa, wow, there really is growth potential for me. So that all serves to help reduce objections. And this is probably the most critical. Are you closing the sale? I mean, sales is the dirty word. No one likes the word sales. I mean, for me, it took me a long time to get over the idea of sales. But did you have a strong call to action? And did you have the courage to say, hey, you know what? We think you'd really be a good fit. Would you like to join our club? Just talk to our VP of membership over there, and they'll help you fill out your membership form. Don't be afraid just to ask them, because it really is just a simple question. So I want to go over a sample agenda. Now, this is something that I've used at License to Speak, and it was kind of interesting. I did an HPL, and this was last year, and I tracked every time we did an open house, how we did an open house, and how many people came and how many people joined. And I found using this model is about 85% join rate. So unfortunately at that time, I wasn't focusing as much on marketing, because that's something I'm still working on. And remember, marketing is about the quantity of people coming in. That's about the quantity. So are you going to get one member coming in, potential guest coming in, or are you going to get 10? That's marketing. Marketing is going to drive that. But I did focus on open houses, and I found that, that one person who came, they joined. Two people came. Those two people joined. Three people came. Two of those three people joined. And I found, we're having really good success with these open houses and with people joining, that, it's like, okay, there must be a certain quality here. And then I replicated this with the Forks Toastmasters, right? Just get the prototype, an idea, and you see, okay, does this work in other clubs? Is it just us, our particular case, or is this having traction elsewhere? So we also ran this through the Forks Toastmasters recently, and two people came. We didn't have a massive marketing campaign. Only two people came, but both those members were interested in joining. Then COVID came in and said, no longer meeting anymore. So we're going to be, now that we're working on virtual meetings, we're going to be looking at following up with them and seeing if we can bring them into the fold, because there's real interest there. So this is awesome. So the sample agenda, this is really simple. And this is part of the material, so you guys don't have to worry about having this on hand. We can send this out to you. I think when I previously saw the chat, I already saw some emails in there, and I don't know if Sandra has gotten uploads in there yet. But all I did was I took the Toastmasters open house presentation, standard material that's open to everyone, and I just augmented it slightly. So in that Toastmasters presentation, there's a bit in there, a pre-canned presentation all about Toastmasters. And in that, when executing this open house, I used that PowerPoint presentation, and when running it, we selected someone who is strong at speaking to run the event, and any guests that we invited. At the beginning, of course, we acknowledge all the guests that come, right? And ideally, if you're able to invite people from outside, it's always nice to have guests from outside, because that creates a sense of, this club is bigger than myself. It's not just the club. It's like, whoa, a district leadership has come, or maybe it's just the area director, but it's someone outside the club that's showing that, well, wait a second, there's more than just this club. There's lots of other clubs. And of course, the pre-canned presentation talks about, how large Toastmasters is. And of course, it goes into Toastmasters International, how we serve the member, and all the different opportunities to explore. Then a part of that, and this is same pre-canned presentation. There's an all about pathways. Of course, you want to talk about the online curriculum because that is a benefit. And that person might be thinking like, oh, I want to get better at becoming a speaker and a leader. How do I do that? Oh, well, here's pathways. It's free to you. You got your first one or your first and second path available to you when you join. So it's good to have a high level overview on that. So with this speaker, you might want someone who's maybe not as strong as a Toastmaster, but someone who's good at doing a pre-canned presentation. Because remember, it's all about the customer experience and driving that customer experience. What are they experiencing at that moment? And are you building up that credibility? Because remember, a lot of times the guests coming in, they don't know everyone personally. And they don't know everyone's background and how things have emerged and grown over time. All they know is like, oh, here's Toastmasters. Oh, this might be for me. I don't know anything about it. So that first impression is important, right? So you got to demonstrate that effective communication is being developed within that club. This is the part that I find the most exciting. So, and this is an addition that I did to this presentation. I think last year or the year previous, there's a whole My Why campaign that was going on. And what was cool about the My Why campaign is that it's all about testimonials and the different, and having, here, hold on one sec here. And having the different, hold on one sec here. It's this, I thought I saw a question, so. So having all the different testimonials happen, and testimonials are very powerful. And testimonials can be done from the beginner to the intermediate. It can be done by anyone, and especially by the beginner. I had one time at License to Speak, a person who was really nervous to get up there, but we encouraged her and we said, you know what? You don't have to have it fully prepared and memorized. Bring up your notes. It doesn't matter. Just, we support you. It's a safe environment. And she volunteered and she did it. But it was awesome because we got to see her break a barrier right before our eyes. And we even had the lunch and learn, not even in a regular meeting room. We had it in the theater, the corporate theater at MPI in the organization, which is a much larger room than the regular meeting room. And she got up there and did it. It was awesome. Very powerful and inspirational to see that happen in front of you, especially for any person who has low confidence and they see that happening in front of them. They're going to go, oh, wow, that's me too. If she can do it, I can do it. This is awesome. We can do it together. And of course, the testimonial is also heartfelt because what a My Why speech is 3 components. And it's really simple. Take 30 seconds. Say who you are. 2, tell them why you joined Toastmasters. 3, tell them the value that you've gained from being a membership. What was the impact? What was the impact to you as a result of being a member of Toastmasters? So those become powerful testimonials. Then you try to cap it. You cap it with a keynote. Now, this doesn't mean like a Tony Robbins keynote. It just means someone who's well polished. It doesn't have to be, a professional speaker. It's just someone who has, a fairly good presentation, and try to have it to be the best speaker or presentation out of the whole meeting. Because the idea is that you're moving up to a crescendo. You're moving up to a climax. What we did with License to Speak was with the lunch and learns that we ran, we always tried to get in a guest speaker, because a guest speaker does 2 things. First, it helps your marketing because you can advertise and say, oh, division contest winner, headlining the event, come see some great humor, or come see an inspirational international speech. But the idea is that you're kind of creating a crescendo and climax and someone who's a very good speaker. And try to get someone from outside, because as soon as it's someone from outside, again, it's bigger than yourself. And wow, there's lots of people involved with Toastmasters International. And that sets up the stage for those people in the audience to, so they know about Toastmasters, they know about pathways, they've seen all the different levels of speakers, they've heard testimonials. Holy smokes, they're blown away by an inspirational or humorous speech at the end. At that point, they're ready. They're ready to say yes. And at that point, you as a Toastmaster, maybe a couple of the executive committee might come up to say, hey, it's low cost alternatives. There's a slide in the Toastmasters pre-canned Toastmasters agenda that says, hey, Dale Carnegie, $1,500, Toastmasters, $90 for the year or whatever it is, or yeah, $90 US for the year. Then you just do the call out. for those guests who have arrived. We think you'd really have a great time or be a great fit as part of our club. Would you like to join? Please talk to our Vice President of Membership at the back. Or if it's a smaller club, you can just can direct the question directly at the guest. And then there you go. If you follow that simple sort of model, you're going to have a pretty good success. And to note, the only additions that I did in this presentation was the My Why speech. I added a really simple blank slide that just says, members speak, my why. And then for the keynote, it's I think I said mini keynote, and then I might put the name of the presenter, the person who's giving the speech. And then I have one last slide that says call to action before the last few slides of the pre-canned Toastmasters presentation. So it's very simple and repeatable. And this is an example here. This is another handout that you can see on the side here of the simple template. And this is actually 2 pages. I'm going to get into what the second page is. So the first page is something that you can print as an agenda. You can hand out, you can use a banner or whatever, or as a start of a banner. And then the second page talks about all the different agenda roles. So now you're probably wondering, okay, well, this is great, Steve. That's a working example of License to Speak. It's worked at the Forks Toastmasters. Well, how does this connect to this model? I've already touched on a lot of these points, but the Toastmaster, they should be experienced. They should be able to run an event effectively and do effective transitions. They're helping build credibility. Pathways presenter, they should be an experienced member, maybe not the best one, but good, but still good at presenting skills. So they can hand off. And they're also building credibility, right? Because it's the way they're speaking and presenting and delivering the materials. Now, if you don't have many people, the Toastmaster could potentially do both. My why speeches, I love these. You try to get beginner to intermediate members, where possible, to get up and do a my why. Now, they don't have to have it perfectly polished. You can just say, get up there and just like an impromptu table topics. Just say who you are, why you joined Toastmasters, and what value you've gained from Toastmasters. It's really good to see that heartfelt response. So that helps reduce objections for the low confident people. It builds credibility because, wow, here's people breaking barriers. And of course, it's in the process of building trust within that, with that new guest. Mini keynotes, finely polished, something to aspire to. Builds credibility again, right? Because here's some really strong speakers. So they start in the beginning, but my goodness, you can get really good. And as we all know, once you get up to international contest levels, I mean, there's a real science for delivering like a finely polished international contest winning speech. So that helps build trust again that, oh, wait a second, this club is doing what it's espousing, it's doing what it's talking about, and it's delivering. The greeters are all about building that initial relationship. You gotta build that relationship. You can't have people coming in and feeling, that awkward, that time where you go into a group, no one knows anyone, and that awkward feeling that everyone feels. Well, if you're trying to build on that rapport, you're gonna remove that awkwardness, and you're starting to build a sense of inclusion, acceptance, and safety. Guest follow-up. So this is also in the meeting, but also post-meeting. So in the meeting, you want to have ideally the VP of membership, watching who's coming in. They can help greet. They could be a greeter too, right? It's just the idea that you have to have someone greeting, and you want someone following up. Ideally it's the VP of membership, but of course, when you're applying this as a team, you just need to identify someone doing that role. And the follow-up is just, okay, when the call to action comes at the front of the room, sometimes the guest might miss it, or maybe it wasn't clear. It's just nice to have someone follow up, not to overwhelm, but just to follow up and say, hey, would you like to join? And do you need any help? The Toastmasters should also point out the evaluators. The evaluators also builds credibility. They should point out that, hey, we're timing too. That also builds credibility. And of course, marketing is something that you can't forget about, but that's not the focus of this, right? Because we're talking about trying to build the quality of that open house to get that guest to say yes. So this slide helps create that connection between, okay, well, this is why we're running that open house the way we are. So this is changing topics a little bit. So one thing that was asked of me for this workshop is to really touch lightly on online video. And I thought through the district meeting, we really touched a lot of great ideas. for how the District 64 and how all Toastmasters is adapting to the COVID crisis. But this means big leadership opportunities. And I was already hearing this, we're all hearing this, just through all the great discussion and ideas and inputs that are happening, even just in today's district meeting. Love it. And we all know this, social distancing does not equal social disconnecting. So social distancing doesn't mean isolation. And this is something that we can combat. We can say, screw you, COVID. We can still connect on a human level. It's just, oh, okay, we're not going to do it in person. We're going to do it online. We spoke a lot of different options, and I don't know if I have to spend much time on this. We already know that Zoom is a really great option. We're using it here, and it's working great. Very little bandwidth issues. Really quite seamless. And every time we use it, we're getting better and better and better. I'm hearing many clubs are using it. Virtual Club, there's Caroline Club, Confidently Speaking, Pembina Valley, Steinbach Professional, Stars of the North, Keystone Speakers, Crossroads. There's and many more clubs that are already adjusting and adopting and adapting to our environment to connect. So that's really great. And the good news about running an open house and that sales process model, it's not about the technology or the methodology that you're connecting or the technology platform. Sales is about human connection, and it's about the alignment of needs, of customer needs, to a set of solutions. So you can communicate that online very easily. You just have to think a little bit differently. Okay, well, how do you build rapport? Okay, well, maybe you have to build rapport with those initial emails to warmly accept people to come in. Maybe you want to appoint someone who's the mediator of that online meeting to make sure that, oh, there's a new guest. Oh, maybe we'll just say, hey, do you know how to configure everything? And then maybe they can just spend a little bit more attention to help them, mute and unmute, or maybe chat with them to feel welcome. So that sales process model works in any circumstance, but the core of it is, and I'll just quickly go back. So are you asking these questions? Are you building a relationship? Are you demonstrating a quality meeting? Are you practicing what you're preaching, right? So Toastmasters is selling a bunch of solutions. So are we actually delivering? Are you demonstrating that we're delivering on that? Is it, again, clearly being demonstrated? Are the link between the potential challenges a customer has to the solutions, is that clearly being linked and aligned, both through what you're communicating in the materials, but also how you're demonstrating it while running the event? And of course, that serves to help reduce objections, and you got to have that call to action at the end. You have to close the sale. So if you're hitting those 6 points, you're going to have a lot more success. So this is a call to action to everyone here. Toastmasters is where leaders are made, and part of leadership is about leading by example. And what Toastmasters does, we learn by doing. That's our bread and butter. We do a speech project, we give it a try. Oh, okay, we get some feedback, then you approve, then you try and learn and do it again. So I recommend for those who want the materials, we'll send it out to you. Give it a try. Reflect on, okay, well, how does this relate to your open house and how you're doing it? You don't have to follow that model. It's just try to get into the mindset of the customer. Okay, am I hitting on these points? And then look at your agenda and say, okay, well, are we really hitting these points? Maybe we have to build that rapport better. Or, you know what, we really have to close the sale. We're not doing that. So gosh, we're going to add that in. So investigate, learn, practice, experiment. And that's true for running open houses, as well as marketing materials. We're going to give you a list of ideas and all the online meeting stuff, right? And we're already practicing that. So with that, again, email me if you want the materials. Put your request in the chat. Sandra might have already put stuff up.
All right, very good. Thanks very much, Stephen and Sandra, for looking after our session today. Great presentation. I can tell by the people wanting the materials that it was very well received. I think moving forward, this is information that we can all use at our meetings, our club meetings, for certain, to get new members. That's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to sign people to come and experience Toastmasters. And I think with what you've presented today, this is going to help us in presenting the right picture for our guests that are coming into our rooms for open houses. And thanks very much, Stephen.